to the Spiritist Society of Melbourne. My name is Thiago Comitri, and I'm a volunteer with this group. Tonight, I'm going to share my understanding to the topic Love Instead of Suffering under the lens of Spiritism. I'm a student of this philosophy, and what I'll be exposing here is my understanding to the topic according to my knowledge. It might differ from other members of this group, as well as other students of this philosophy. Love instead of suffering. Are you suffering? For how long have you been suffering? And do you know at least why do you suffer? It must have a cause, isn't it? These questions would help us to think about suffering, but without a serious reflection in ourselves, we might not be able to answer them. My presentation tonight will be based on this book, Changing Attitudes, written by Francisco do Espírito Santo Neto, and dictated by the spirit named Hamed. As the title says, by changing our attitudes, it proposes to perceive life from a different perspective. And based on the Spirit's book as well, which contains the principles of Spiritism, according to the teachings of the spirits of high order degree, transmitted through many mediums across the world, then received, coordinated, and codified by Allan Kardec. Also, the Gospel according to Spiritism, which contains the explanations of the moral maxims of Christ in concordance with Spiritism and their applications to the different circumstances of life. We suffer because we had not learned how to love. Divine laws promote love as the only way we can achieve spiritual development. That's how Hamed starts this topic in his book. How's that? So we have not learned how to love. So my question is, how's that? What about the love I feel on my children, my parents, my partner? I tell them every day pretty much that I love them and they are everything to me. But love is much broader than this. And how much love do we love our extended family, for example? Or that one who lives next to our door? The one who has a dog that annoys you every time you start a meeting or a conference call when you're home. You know what I mean? So how is this love to those people as well? Or that colleague at work that has just joined your team and you need to exercise your tolerance and patience to teach them and to help them to smoothly on board. How much love are you applying in your actions? Okay, perhaps I don't add much love in things that I do, but what about the love on ourselves? Do you really know yourself? Have you accepted yourself the way you are? So this love, for us to understand a little bit more about this love, I'd like to share my understanding. And that is actually was a teaching that I received from a spirit once in a session in another Spiritist center. It's regarding genetic disease. And if we just think of genetic disease, is trying to understand the spiritual meaning of that. And let's assume here that my family, like my mother, has a disease that the doctor says that is genetic. So it means there is something, some disorder in the genome, her genome, that is part of her DNA, right? And that disorder makes her to develop, or gave her the ability or the possibility to develop that disease. And that happened, and she's sick. Because that is genetic, and myself and my siblings have the same, have part of her genome in our DNA, we also have that disorder in our genome, and may or may not develop that disease as well. But just knowing that that is possible, we just change our way of thinking. And let's assume that after that, my sister just developed the same disease. And what happened with myself? I know that I also had that condition that could comes up, but that also builds inside myself and inside my family unit a love in such a way that is to develop protection and caring, that I will think of them differently. And that will help, all this situation will help me to perceive life from a different perspective, because I know they are suffering because of this disease. They have limitations because of this disease. And most of the time there is no cure, just treatments. It's lifetime treatment. And by knowing that I could have the same disease, what happened is I develop naturally compassion and empathy, which is two keys and sentiments under love, and everything is under love. So if I see them differently, because this connection, because we are so close, and knowing that we are in the same boat, and I could have the same disease, and we would be suffering again together, things are differently. And I start seeing everyone, maybe that's the main objective, at least, try to see things in everyone from a different perspective, because that is an issue that is not directly to me, but indirectly I am also suffering. So when we put ourselves in someone else's shoes, we try to understand things differently, right? And that opens our mind and extend our understanding of love. So with the moment we are living, with this COVID-19 pandemic in the world, and sometimes you didn't have anyone in your family with this disease, which is good, and we should be grateful to God, and because they're not going through this issue. But we see a lot of people dying every day because of this disease, and we see a lot of people stressed and sad, really sad, and a lot of other issues comes up. But what is our role in the whole thing, in this situation? Even if we are like in Australia we are kind of comfortable because it's very well controlled. We have no case at the moment, while as in other countries like Brazil, it's very, very sad. How should we play? in this moment. So empathy, putting ourselves in someone else's shoes, friends of us having their parents or their family member dying. So we should share this moment with them and consolate them with good words, and thinking that that could be with yourself or someone else that you love. But again, what is love and why is everyone suffering? It's quite complex to explain, but this philosophy can give us some answers. So this spiritism, this philosophy says that we are individuals with the main objective of progressing spiritually towards perfection, and at the same time being co-creators. So in the slide before, Hamed tells us that love is the unique way to achieve spiritual development. And this philosophy tells us that we are spirits, we are individuals, spirits created simple and ignorant. What is the spirit? Myself, I have a soul. Everyone has a soul. And this soul is inhabiting this physical body, right? Everyone has a physical body. And the soul which is inhabiting that is the spirit. So just change the name, but it's the same thing. That's how we understand studying this philosophy. And when our body just sees the corporeal life, this organic life just sees, our spirit is free again and goes back to the spirit world, which is the infinite universe, is everywhere. And spirits inhabit this invisible world. So we was created simple and ignorant, and we are unique in this whole universe. And our main objective is to progress, to achieve perfection. And Hamed told us in the previous slide that how we do that, learning how to love effectively. But we are still learning that. But how can we reach perfection in just one existence? The answer is it is impossible. And then this philosophy well explained the concept of reincarnation. Well explained. It wasn't created by this philosophy, but it explained it in a very well manner. So it helps us to see big picture when we understand reincarnation, that we are this intelligent being, this spirit or soul, that came through many existence, physical existence, to improve ourselves. Because this relationship with our family members, with our colleagues, with our friends, all these conjunctions will help us to develop our love, our understanding of love, and also to develop ourselves intellectually and morally. So by doing this, we are already being co-creators. We are already collaborating with the whole thing, with nature, this creation where we are in. So with these concepts in mind, we can proceed and start thinking of this pain punishment, which everyone has in mind, and I think everyone practices yet. So my question is, have you punished yourself in order to feel pain due to something you've done that you think is wrong, and you just start punishing yourself? Why I did this? I'm not a good person, or things like that, you know? In pagan mythology, the conflicts of Osiris, Set, and Horus in Egypt is an example of this pain punishment. Then we internalized thought forms So ways of thinking from the revenge between Neptune and Jupiter in the Olympus, Greek gods dueling. So Hamed also tells us that from the Old Testament, where we exerted our way of thinking regarding pain as one of divine process to punish the guilt. So people used to punish themselves in order to purify themselves about wrongdoings they have done. So even when we think of cleric person in movies and TV series that it's easier for us to see, when those people just commit a sin, they do something wrong and they want to ask God to forgive them. But what they do, they punish themselves. They self-flagellate and expecting that that will be enough. That has no meaning through the eyes of this philosophy, because as a spirit, you are just punishing and flagellating your body. But your spirit is the important piece here. So it's your spirit that needs to evolve, right? Because that's what continues and needs to reach perfection one day. But how we do that? Understanding things. So when we understand something, and that makes logic for us, then we just concretize, let's say, that knowledge in ourselves. So I guess all of us have heard or read about the law of retaliation. It says eye for eye and tooth for tooth. And Hamed tells us that it means creatures should have pain as a form of punishment, so as to feel the same way they made others feel. If someone, that time, long time ago, if someone just killed someone else, or let's use this, I know that is strong, but just to exemplify this. If someone just killed the kid of someone else, that person should suffer in the same way, having their kid or someone that they love so much taken so as well. So that was how they used to do long time ago. Because people had idea of a punitive God. So divine powers was characterized by deeply punishing attributes, and that's the way people should do. So that was common thinking with everyone. So if you did this, you pay the same side of the coin, let's say. But I might bring some examples as well from the gospel. From Job 21st, 17, it says, "Yet how often is the lamp of the wicked snuffed out? How often does calamity come upon them, the fate God allows in his anger?" Also in Genesis chapter 3, verse 16. "I will greatly increase your pains in childbearing. With pain you will give birth to children. Your desire will be for your husband, and he will rule over you." So there are many examples like this of that pain punishment thinking that made us believe that only suffering can improve souls or men negligence and crimes. So with these teachings that people used to have in the past, it also shows a God, a punitive God. And if you, that time used to have more than one God, as it was showing the pagan mythology and Egypt and Greek, they had many gods, right? Many gods. And also this idea of punitive God, pain, punishment. So you need to suffer for something wrong you've done. That's how you'll be free or will be forgiven. So over 2,000 years ago, someone said, you have heard that it was said, eye for eye and tooth for tooth. But I tell you, do not resist an evil person. If someone strikes you on the right cheek, turn to him the other also. So that was a teaching for humankind. It was an advice for people to try to see life from a different perspective. That time, more than 2,000 years ago, people from that time was very brute. And what they had in mind was like that. So eye for eye and tooth for tooth, the law of retaliation always. So to change the mindset of people is not easy, even nowadays. So if you are 20 years in a company working, doing the same thing, using the same system, and then comes a new system, very, very sophisticated with that will make your life easier. And you are 20 years doing the same thing in the same system, to accept to be trained in that new system is hard, because you need to change the way we do things, the way we think, to use the new thing, right? That's natural. Imagine when we're talking about morality, it's even hard for us to change, because we even don't know about ourselves. We don't know ourselves. So that was a teaching for humankind. Even that wasn't for the people at that time, but for the next generation. They will receive that message and they start thinking differently. And even now, 2,000 years after, we're still thinking and trying to understand that. We are in different levels of evolution. As I said, we are spirits that come to this physical world, to this physical life, to evolve, right? To have this relationship with people and to have different problems and situations that we need to go through. And how we do that should be through love, should be expressing our love. That helps us to evolve. Some people will accept that, and other will say, that's not how we live. That's not how I think. That's not how I do things, of course. But that's the opportunity that that person named Jesus brought us to discover love and to give us a way or a chance to find a way to live and think differently. And we're still trying to learn and to put in practice that. For a long time, pain will remain a life's imperative, stimulating people to change simply because they don't accept that love can change and renew everything. So, that's good. So they keep making use of mental sacrifice and self-torture, putting into practice all the ideology of worshipping guilt and punishment. So that's for humankind. And for certain spirits, let's say, as people, the spirits of those people are in different level of evolution, right? We are still coming here, developing ourselves, and one day maybe we are not be here. We will be in more evolved worlds with more evolved spirits. But while we are here, suffering in such a way because we are always suffering for something. We always have something that we need to develop there. So it helps us to advance spiritually, which is the main goal. So this picture here is showing the physical punishment, but actually it's for any kind of punishing. So maybe our thoughts, we are punishing ourselves by sacrifice things that we love to do, we like to do, and we just punish ourselves. According to Hamad, choosing love as a method of growth, reformulating ideas and restructuring old values is the way for us to stop playing victims, martyrs, or poor people and to tune into noble spirit's subtle and lovely chains. As I said, our main goal is to develop our spirit, to advance spiritually, because we have a long way to reach perfection. So thinking and choosing love as a way of life, a way of living, is like going the right way. It's like trying to do the right thing and helping us to be close to those noble spirits, more evolved spirits, because for those who are already advanced, they understand and they practice love. So thinking and practicing is a good exercise if it's not a habit already. Hamed says that beliefs are not only creeds, proverbs, or religious stimulus, but they are also faith and principles which provide us direction in life. They are true forces that might limit or broaden fortune in our existence. We see in the history and also in books and even in the Old Testament, that is book from the church, we see that thinking of a punitive God. But if it says here, beliefs drive us for a way of thinking, they have a big responsibility on this place, right? So what I want to expose here is just my understanding to this concept of love and suffering, why we suffer, and what we receive as information from everywhere. What should we be doing? And what this philosophy recommend us to do is to use our reasoning, because we are intelligent beings, we are thinkers. And what it recommends us is to use our rational criticism before believing anything. So every information we receive, we should think of that. Use our rational criticism and make our questions, find answers before believing that. That helps us not to, or maybe that will help us to understand what is that punishment thinking, self-punishment thinking. And Hamad finishes saying that we can either reduce our karmic energies through love or enlarge them by sticking to punishing old beliefs, making our sorrow deeper or relieving it is entirely up to us. Let's keep in mind that rooted ideas tend to materialize easily. Everything that's going through your mind, you should watch and take care of them, because everything that we put energy and desire that to realize or to concretize, it can materialize, it can become real in your life. That's what I had to share with you all. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Thank you.